before we start the class, let us take the blessings of the beautiful deities of ISKCON Mangaluru, Sri Sri Radha Govind Ji. Sri Sri Radha Govind Ji ki jai. So we stopped yesterday at shloka number 37, I believe. Yeah, 37. So before we go to shloka 38, I just want to give a small recap of what we did in our previous classes. Okay, so in our previous classes, we discussed about karma kanda. So performing our duty according to the scriptures. Okay, so Krishna tells Arjuna, there is no loss when you fight. Okay, so in the previous shlokas, like we saw from 31 to 37, okay, where Krishna says, he talks about karma kanda. Okay, there is no loss when you fight. So if you die in the battlefield, you will go to heaven, right? But if you win the earthly kingdom, you will get a chance to rule it. Okay, so either ways, you will gain. Okay, so what are the different stages? Like, see, the lowest stage is the animal stage, where you don't perform your duty according to the scriptures. You just live for the sake of living, just like an animal. See, animal, it does not undergo, there is no rules and regulation for the animal, right? It sleeps whenever it wants to, it eats whenever it wants to, it does whatever it wants to, right? So there is no regulation or following rules and regulations. So that is the lowest stage of a human life, where it is called the animal stage. So next level is karma kanda stage, where the humans, they perform duty according to the scriptures, where we worship the gods and goddesses to fulfill our desires. See, we do yagnas or sacrifices to go to the heavenly planets, because we accumulate pious credit. When we get pious credit or punya, we go to heavenly planets. Okay, so we do all these in with respect to the scriptures. So scriptures tell us, you do this, then you will go to heavenly planets. So this is like karma kanda is like you follow the scriptures. Okay, you worship those gods and goddesses to fulfill your desires. So the next level. Okay, what is the next level? Today we are going to discuss about buddhi yoga. Okay, or it is also called Nishkama Karma Yoga. Okay, but see, you can see in this actually chapter 2 is the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. Okay, 2.1 to 10, we'll see how Arjuna is still confused whether to fight or not, and then he surrenders to Krishna, he accepts him as his guru. Then Krishna, after Arjuna accepts Krishna as his guru, he starts speaking. So in 11, from 11th shloka to 30th shloka, Krishna talks about Gnana. Okay, he tells the concept of the soul. So that's the answer for the first question, right? Arjuna had so much compassion. That was the first reason Arjuna says for not fighting, compassion towards the bodies of his relatives. Okay, so 11 to 30, to answer that, give answer to that, Krishna says, you are not this body, you are the soul. So, and soul never dies, it is eternal, it is only the body that dies. So don't worry, get up and fight. So he gives Gnana, 11 to 30. Okay, now next from 31 to 38, he talks about Karma Kanda. Okay, so this means he says that Arjuna, see, get up and fight. Why? Because see, if you fight in this, if you fight, what will happen? If you win the battlefield, you will get the earthly kingdom. So then you can rule. But if you die, even then there is no loss. You will go to heavenly planets. There also you will enjoy. So Krishna tells next, after giving Gnana, he comes to Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda, he says, still there is gain. You fight. Now, in shlokas 39 to 53, he's giving, he's talking about Buddhi Yoga or Nishkama Karma. See, so Krishna is saying, fight. but without any expectation. So nishkama means without any desire. Okay, so you work. Karma means nishkama karma means work, right? Karma means work. So you work without any expectation. Okay, buddhi yoga means. So that is what we are going to discuss in from today onwards. Okay, we don't know like where we stop, but we'll try to complete till wherever, and then we'll continue tomorrow again. Okay. So before we start about Nishkama Karma Yoga, to understand better, first Krishna, that's what he tells first about Jnana or Sankhya. Okay, through this he answered the first question to compassion. Arjuna was feeling compassionate for the bodies. So he says soul, that concept he gives in Jnana. So next he talks about Sakama Karma or Karma Kanda. So Jnana Karma he told till now. So next in Buddhi Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga, he tells with this Jnana, you do karma without any expectation of results. Okay? So before Krishna said Sakama Karma, so with expectation, Sakama Karma, Karma Kanda means what? With some expectation, you do some puja or sacrifice or yagna, right? But now Krishna is telling one more step, he's going one more step higher. So with Jnana, you do karma, but without expectation of results. This is Buddhi Yoga. So now we see Krishna will explain in detail in the following shlokas, like from 38 to 46. Okay, and then from 47, he will tell how to practically apply in day to day life through Arjuna. Krishna is telling this. Okay, so after that, we'll see what is the advantage we get when we do Nishkama Karma Yoga. So Arjuna may ask, see, you are asking me to do Nishkama Karma, but what is the benefit? Because Nishkama Karma means without any expectation. Anybody in this world, they do anything with the expectation of getting something. But now Krishna is telling Arjuna, you're saying this is one more step higher. This is much better. But you're saying I should not expect anything. How is this beneficial for me? That's what Arjuna is asking. So, what is the result? If I do Nishkama Karma, if I don't expect anything and I just do my duty, what is the gain that I get? What is the benefit that I get? So, the benefit Krishna tells in the last four shlokas, that is from 50 to 53, he tells what is the benefit of doing Nishkama Karma Yoga. Okay, so actually, why is this Nishkama Karma Yoga called Buddhi Yoga? Because you are using your buddhi to do that yoga. Okay, and what is yoga means? Yoga means connecting to the supreme. Okay, so this is called Nishkama Karma Yoga. Because Nishkama means without any desire. So you are not bringing your senses into picture. You're not doing anything to satisfy your senses. Nishkama, no, you are not for your satisfaction. You have no desire, right? So you only do it to please Krishna, to satisfy the senses of Krishna. That is Nishkama Karma Yoga. Okay, so now we saw this, right? Now let's go to shloka number 38. Yeah. Please give me a second. I'll just be back. Sorry. Hare Krishna. I'm so sorry. Okay, so in shloka number 38, let's read the translation by Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So what is Krishna saying? Arjuna, here, fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing, you shall never incur any sin. Okay, so yesterday we saw how Krishna he gave answers partly to the third question, right? We talked about sin. Little bit he touched upon sin. Like Arjuna was fearful that he was committing sin by killing the bodies of his relatives, right? So he was we just touched upon it yesterday. So now Krishna is the answer to the third question, that is fear of sin in a higher level. Okay, also we will get the answers to questions 4 or 5 also today, so that also we'll see. So this is a very important session, so requesting all of you to please focus. Okay, now Krishna is telling Arjuna in the shloka, see, as a kshatriya it is your duty to fight, so fight. So Krishna wants the battle to happen. Okay, so he's telling here there should be no consideration of how he should fight. There should be no consideration of happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory and defeat. Okay, so in the activities of Krishna consciousness, there should be all these should not be there. Okay, only fight because it is your duty to fight. Okay, then you will not incur any sin. See, only when you think for yourself, you expect something, there is a good or a bad reaction for that, right? But when you do it for Krishna, you are not responsible. You're doing it for Krishna, to please Krishna, because Krishna said so. Now, what is Arjuna? Krishna telling Arjuna, you fight. So, because as a Kshatriya, it is your duty to fight. So, just do your duty, just fight without expecting whether I will win, whether I will lose, what will happen, loss or gain, victory and defeat, happiness or distress. You don't worry about that. You leave that to me. Your duty as a Kshatriya is to fight. So, you fight, just fight. Okay, so then you will not incur any sin, because you're not expecting anything, right? You're not doing it for your sense gratification. Oh, I'm fighting this because I want to win somehow. Nothing like that. So just do your duty, then there will be no question of sin. Okay, all activities should be performed for the satisfaction of Krishna. Then there will be no reaction to material activities. But if anyone acts for their own sense gratification, then they get good or bad reactions. But if he completely surrenders and takes shelter of Krishna, he will be sinless. Okay, also he is no longer a debtor to anybody, not even to the demigods, the sages, the people in general, kinsmen, humanity, forefathers. So you all know, you all must be knowing, like we are all debtors to many people in this world. When we come into this world, we are indebted to so many people. See, when we are born, we are indebted to so many people. We are indebted to our mother who gives us birth. We are indebted to our father who provides for the family. We are indebted to our grandparents. We are indebted to our relatives. So many. We're indebted to our society. Okay, we are indebted to the demigods who provide us sunlight, moonlight, air, rain, water. We are indebted to the sages who give us knowledge. Okay, and so many things we learn, we grasp from others. So we get to know many things from many others. Unknowingly or knowingly, we get to know from many of the people. So we are indebted to everyone. So many people are there. But when we do service to Lord, we are no longer debtors to anybody. But if we just do devotional service to Krishna, all these debts will be nullified. Why? It's like if you are watering the root of a tree, The whole tree is nourished, right? You don't have to pour water on the leaf, on the trunk, on the branches, on the leaves. You don't have to pour. See, if you just directly pour it to the root, automatically all the tree, everything, the leaves will be nourished, the trunk, the branches, everything will be nourished automatically. So, like that, we don't have to individually, serve, if we directly serve Krishna, we are like pleasing everybody. Like we are not a debtor to anybody. So if you just please Krishna, if you just do devotional service to Krishna, it's like we are satisfying everybody. We don't have to specifically satisfy each individual because we don't know how many people we have to satisfy. And it is not practically possible for us. See, there are 36 crores of devatas. Is it possible for us to daily satisfy each of these devatas? Not possible, right? 36 crore devatas. But if we just do satisfy Krishna by doing devotional service, we are satisfying all, not just the 36 crore devatas, but everybody whom we are indebted to. So all are satisfied. So we are now debtor to anybody. And so now in the next shloka, okay, Krishna says, I've already told you Sankhya. Sankhya means Gnana. 11 to 30 we saw, right? That is Gnana, the concept of soul. So now I will tell you about Buddhi Yoga. So from now, like from Shloka 39 to 53, Krishna tells about Nishkama Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. So what is that? Krishna tells Arjuna, you get up and fight, but without any expectation. Okay, no expectation you keep. Okay, just fight because as a Kshatriya, it is your duty to fight, and I want you to fight. So just fight. Okay, so Krishna is telling, I will tell you about Buddhi Yoga. Arjuna, you listen. So Krishna, he already gave a hint in 38. What is Buddhi Yoga? But Arjuna, he may get confused. See, before Shloka 38, Krishna told Arjuna that there is no loss if you fight. Through Karma Kanda, he told Arjuna, there is only gain. See, if he wins the battle, he will get the earthly kingdom. He will be happy, he can happily rule. And if he dies, he will go to the heavenly planets, and there also he can nicely enjoy. Okay, that is the thing. But now Krishna is telling Arjuna, you fight, but without any expectation. Okay, but Arjuna will ask, what benefit I will get if I fight without any expectation? Okay, so he may say that Krishna in Shloka 38, Krishna is saying, don't think about, in 37 previous shlokas, he was saying, you fight, there is only gain. But now in Shloka 38, he's saying that the fight without loss or gain, victory or defeat, just do your karma for Krishna. Krishna is telling, do it just for me. So Arjuna may be confused. Previously he said, you fight, there is only gain, karma kanda. Okay. And now, like, if I die in the battle, I will go to heavenly planets. If I win, I will get earthly planet. But now again, Krishna is saying, don't think about loss or gain, just do your karma. So Arjuna may be confused. Once Krishna is telling there will be gain, now again, Krishna is saying that don't fight, don't worry about loss or gain, just do your karma. So Arjuna may be confused. So that is why Krishna is saying, see Arjuna, I will tell you, talk about this new science. It is called Nishkama Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. So I will explain this philosophy to you in detail now. Don't get confused. Okay, so let's see. Shloka number 39. Okay, translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thus far, I have described, this is the translation, thus far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Okay, so analytical study means he is saying that I have told you till now through Sankhya. Sankhya means the concept of soul and body, the differences. Okay, 11 to 30 we saw, right? Now, listen as I explain in terms of working without fruitative results. And then from 31 to 37, he tells about Karma Kanda, right? With expectation of results. So now, without expectation of results, now he's saying, I will tell you about that. So, O son of Pritha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. See, saying if you work in Nishkama Karma Yoga, you will be free from the bondage, you will be liberated. So, Krishna is telling Arjuna, now, previously I've told you about Sankhya, I've given you Gnana. Sankhya means nothing, Gnana, about the soul. So, now I will tell you about Buddhi Yoga. Because if you use your Buddhi to do karma, you will be free from bondage of work. Okay, so there will be no sin. So till now, Arjuna, see, he is fearing sin, right? So he is only thinking of sin. So previously, Krishna said regarding Karma Kanda, if you do pious activities, you will go to heavenly planets. Okay, so he said there will be only gain. See, generally, why do we do punya karma or pious deeds or karma kanda? So that we can go to the heavenly planets and stay there happily forever. We want to stay there, because still general people, they don't have this concept of going back to. They don't know whether they can go back to Godhead. They don't know this concept until Prabhupada brought this into light. They only think there are only two places for us. If we do bad things, we go to hell. If we do good things, we go to heaven. So people, do all these karma kanda activities. They do yajna, puja, this charity, social activities, so that they can get some punya. With that punya, accumulate punya, and so that after death, they can go to heavenly planets. But once you go to heavenly planets and your punya is over, then what happens? Your punya, everything is over. Now you can't stay. It's like you go to the bank, you withdraw all whatever money you have. So now nothing is left. So you can't. You can't withdraw even if you want to withdraw. So there's nothing now. So like that, all your punya is over now. You have spent it in the heavenly planets. Now again you have to come back to the earthly planet. Okay? But coming back to the earthly planet means misery, difficulties. Actually, we want to get out of this material world, right? Because it's a place of difficulties, distress, pain, struggle, everything. And that's why we do all this punya and we go to the heavenly planet. But Shire Punye, again, Shire means after all your punya is over, you have to again come back and take birth in this material world again. What is the benefit of doing karma kanda then? So you will be going on in this repetition of a cycle of birth, death, old age, disease. See, we don't want old age. We know how many difficulties are there in old age, and we always want to look young. Forget about the difficulties. Okay, we always want to look young. We don't want to look old, white hair, wrinkles on our face. For that, we use so many cosmetics and everything. So we don't like, but it is forced upon us. We don't like disease, it is forced upon us. We don't like somebody to take decisions for us, somebody bossing us, dictating us, but still we have to accept. Right? We don't like all this. Everything happens in the material world. Somebody tries to always overtake us. Right? So we don't like all this. So that's the reason we don't want to be here, right? So many difficulties, problems, tensions are there here. But what is the use after going to heaven plans? We are still coming back. It's like you're just roaming in that cycle of birth and death again and again. So that's why Krishna is telling Arjuna about Nishkama Karma Yoga. See, Nishkama Karma Yoga is you will not have any sin because you're doing it for the satisfaction of Krishna without any expectation of results. You're not doing it for your satisfaction. Karma Kanda is you're doing for your satisfaction with expectation of something. But now you're not doing with any expectation for yourself, but for Krishna. So there is no sin because there is no good or bad reaction, right? So there is no sin. because you're doing it for Krishna. So that's why Krishna is telling Arjuna to do Nishkama Karma Yoga. There's a lot of benefit here. Okay, so Krishna is also telling this is a place of, this is Martya Loka, this is Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. Krishna himself is telling this is Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam. This is a place, this material world is designed in such a way there will be no happiness here, there will be only distress here. It's a temple of miseries. You will just have miseries here, nothing else. Though you may think that I'm happy here, but that is not happiness at all. Okay, so that is why Krishna is talking about this higher level. So if you take to Buddhi Yoga, you will be free from the bondage of birth and you will get mukti. So forever you will go back to Krishna. If you go back to Krishna, you will not have to come back. But if you go to the heavenly planets, that is also a material place, right? It may be much better than the earthly Bhuloka, but still, even the heavenly planets, that is also a material planet, right? There also you will have all these problems. Though it may be 100 times better, enjoyment may be there, a long life may be there, but still you will have all these problems in heaven because you've seen Indra, he's never at peace. Somebody or the other is already always attacking him. He is constantly worried about his post, his position. So all the demons come and seize his position. Always try to grab the heavenly planets. So even if you go to Swargaloka also, there will be all these problems, birth and death, all these tensions, everything will be there. The only place where you have no tension is if you go back to the kingdom of God. That is Vaikuntha Loka or Goloka Vrindavan. See, what is Kunta? Kunta means a place of miseries. Vaikuntha means a place where there are no miseries. Okay, so we have to go to such a place. Okay, so that's why, see, generally that's the reason we do good work, right? We do social activity, we do charity, Annadana, we donate to the old age homes, we donate to the hospitals. So we do good work. So good work will give rise to what? Good karma. Okay, so obviously you have accumulated a lot of punya, you go to heavenly planets, but what is the use? You go to heavenly planets, there also, once your credit is over, all your punya is over, you come back again to the earthly planet, again is a place of misery. So, like the same, you'll be roaming. So, if you take birth again, you will have miseries. Because why? Krishna himself says this is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Okay, that's why Krishna is saying, do Nishkama Karma Yoga. You will get liberated and you will go back, you will come back to me. Okay, now let's go to shloka number 40. This is a very important shloka. So you can memorize the shloka. Neha Vikrama Nashosti Pratyavayo na vidyate Swalpamapyasya dharmasya Drayate Mahato Bhayat. So, what is Krishna saying? In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the dangerous, most dangerous type of fear. Okay, so now Krishna tells one more important point. If you follow Nishkama Karma Yoga, there is a lot of gain. So that's what he's saying. See, in the PPT, if you can see, in this endeavor, Krishna is saying there is no loss or diminution. But what is the profit? A little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Okay, so in Karma Kanda, so Krishna is telling if you follow Nishkama Karma Yoga, there is a lot of gain. There is no loss. So in Karma Kanda, if you don't if you don't do that ritual properly or if the Brahmana, he does not recite the mantras properly, there will be no result at all. So you should be very careful when doing the karma kanda activities, the rituals that you do, the yagnas, pujas, the mantras should be perfect. Only if the mantras are recited perfectly and it is done properly, will you get the result for sure. Otherwise, all that you have done is waste of time. Okay, but this does not happen in Buddhi Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga. So when you follow Buddhi Yoga, there is no loss. Okay, see, if you are not able to completely do Buddhi Yoga, you are only able to do little bit. Even then you will have a lot of benefit, but there is no loss. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. What kind of fear can we come out of? Krishna is telling, see, generally next janma can be anything, we right, but Srila Prabhupada says, if you follow Buddhi Yoga, so even a little if you do, in your next janma you will not go to hell. Okay, or get a janma of a cat, dog, pig. We will at least get the janma of a human being if you do Nishkama Karma Yoga. Okay, if you do activities pleasing Krishna, okay, we will at least get the janma of a human being. We can be sure of that. Generally, people fear when they die. Oh, what Janma I will get next? Whether cat, dog, pig, or what? Whether I'll go to hell or where? They don't know. That is why at the time of death they fear so much. But if you do a little bit of Nishkama Karma Yoga, okay, devotional service to Krishna, they are saying you are assured of getting the birth of a human being in your next Janma. Okay, because you have to continue, because Krishna will give you a chance to continue your bhakti, because if you have done 10% in this janma, he will give you another chance in the next janma as a human being to continue from 11% your devotional service. So you will get the janma of a human being, that is for sure. Okay, but still we didn't complete bhakti, right? So we are given a chance in the next janma to complete. So next birth we'll start from, okay, 11%. And one more thing, and in human birth also we get to take birth in a rich family, aristocratic family. Why in a rich family? So that we don't have to struggle working day and night, and then we won't have time to do any spiritual practice. So we will be born in a rich family where everything will be nicely provided so that you can continue your bhakti nicely. Okay, so that is for a neophyte person who has done little of Nishkama Karma Yoga, little of bhakti he has done. But if he's a very senior devotee, almost 80 to 90% he's completed his bhakti. Okay, he has done 80 to 90% of Nishkama Karma Yoga. Okay, he's done devotional service to Krishna. But that person will be given a chance to be born in a devotee family where he can complete his devotion in this in the next in that janma, and he can go off back to Godhead. Okay, so that is the advantage. If he's a neophyte devotee, he will be given a chance to be born in a rich family so that he can continue his bhakti journey. Or if he's a experienced senior devotee, he will directly be born as a devotee child in a devotee family, and he will finish his so that he can go back direct to God, back to Godhead in that in the next janma. Okay, so if you leave all swadharma and do buddhi yoga, okay, surrender at the lotus feet of Krishna, and your bhakti is still in the initial stage. For example, your bhakti is you are still doing the starting stage of your bhakti, initial stage, and suddenly you meet with an accident, or you die, or suppose you went back to your old habits. Okay, so even then you don't have to worry, there is no loss. Okay, but if you do all other dharma karma kanda but don't do bhakti, that is of no use. So some people say that you must have heard many people saying this. I've done everything perfectly in my life. I'm successful in my life because I've earned money nicely. Children are well settled. Everyone in my house are happy because of me. I've maintained everyone properly. I took nice care of my wife. I took care nicely of my parents. I am successful. We hear people saying this, right? Many of them say this. Yes, you may be successful materially, but if you don't do bhakti, then what you've earned materially is of no use. Because of this material success, you cannot come out of this cycle of birth and death. See, if you are materially attached, you will come back again to this material place. That you should understand. Your attachment to your family members, attachment to your wealth, property, attachment to all these will make you come back to this place, because when you die, you will think about your wife, your husband, your children, your property. The same thing will be in your mind, but not Krishna. So then what happens? Again, you're forced to come back, not necessarily as a human being. You will come as a dog in their house, or a scorpion in their house, a lizard in their house, because of that attachment. Okay, so because of this material success, you are always thinking about that only: money, wealth, my family members, my children, like that. When you die, also, so you cannot come out of this cycle of birth and death. But along with this, materially, you do all this. But along with this, if you do a small amount of bhakti, also, the gain is so much. So this is very important. So some people say, I am doing my duty dharma properly. I am not harming anybody. I am just doing my job, and I'm being good to everybody. And so that's why, and I don't have time for bhakti. I'm maintaining my family members from morning till night. I'm working hard. Even the ladies in the house may think, I'm doing so much for my children. I'm doing so much for my husband. I'm doing so much for my in-laws. So that is enough. I'm being doing my duty, everything for doing my swadharma very properly. This is enough. So doing all these things, no, I don't have time for bhakti. Okay, so no, we should not say like that. So that and this is different. See, bhakti is paro dharma. It's the highest dharma. But what we are thinking, our dharma is just serving our children, husband, wife, doing our duties, swadharma. That is what we are thinking is the ultimate. No, bhakti is the ultimate. Paro dharma, the highest dharma. So your life is successful only when you add bhakti to your material activities. So just being successful in material activities is not enough. You cannot get liberated. Because of that attachment, you will come back here only. You will never get liberated. You will be stuck up in the cycle of birth and death. Okay? So so that's what Krishna is trying to say. There is no loss. If you do this devotional service or Nishkama Karma Yoga without do it for my satisfaction, okay, then there will be no sin. Only there will be advantage. You will get liberated. Else, if you do karma kanda, you will never get liberated. You will be roaming in the cycle of birth and death. Right? But if you do all your activities for me, you will get liberated and you will come back to me. Okay? So now let's go to Shloka 41. Okay, this is also an important shloka. We can memorize the shloka. Vyavasayatmika buddhir eke ha kuru nandana bahushaka hi anantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. So let me read the translation. It's not given here. Yeah. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. Okay, so now this is the answer for question 5. For the fifth question, like where Arjuna gives the fifth reason for not fighting: indecision. He says that I'm not knowing whether I should fight or not. Right? That's the last thing. That's when he surrenders to Krishna and accepts him as his guru. So he's not knowing whether what to do. For that, the answer is given here. Okay, so indecision. So Arjuna's confusion whether to fight or not. So we all get confused in our day-to-day activities. Okay, we are confused whether to do this activity or not. What will happen if I do this own? So we are confused in our whatever daily day-to-day activities that we do. So how to come out of this confusion? Okay, so this is a very important shloka. And Prabhupada also, he got a lot of inspiration, prerna he got to fulfill his spiritual master's wish by reading the shloka. Okay, so Krishna is telling Arjuna, those who are practicing bhakti, they are resolute, right? They are fixed, they're firm in their purpose, and their aim is only one. See, those who are practicing bhakti, obviously they have only one goal. They want to go back to Krishna and serve the Lord there. That's all. They don't have 10 goals, only one goal. What is that? We have to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have to go back to Krishna. So we do many types of services. It could be Go Seva or book distribution, prasadam distribution, many services we do. But our goal is only one: go back to Godhead. Okay, so if we keep this goal in mind, we can do any amount of work. We will not be confused. Okay, so but even then, if we get any doubt, okay, we should see whether the work that I'm doing will it help me reach my goal. Simple, that's what you have to think. See whether the work that I'm doing will it help me reach my goal. If so, this is the only logic, it's very simple. So, no other logic is needed. If it is favorable, then you should do that work. If it is not favorable, then don't do it. It is like if it is creating an obstruction, then put that work aside. We don't have to do it. So we don't get confused because we just have one goal. Okay, here the problem is Arjuna is not clear of his goal. He's thinking, he's thinking of many things at a time. What is he thinking? He's thinking of his relatives. Now he's thinking of the society. He's thinking about himself, whether he'll be happy. He's thinking about the future. So, like this, he had many thoughts in his mind. He is irresolute, many branched. He's thinking about money. His goal is not one. So many things he's thinking. So that is why his buddhi is not working properly. It is many branched. Okay. So only one thing we need to analyze. If I do this, will Krishna be happy? So one more thing, many of us might think, see, the advantage Arjuna had was Krishna was in front of him, right? He could see Krishna face to face, and Krishna asked Arjuna to fight. So it is clear. So he's advising. Krishna is saying, you do this, you do this. But who will tell us what to do? Okay, now in front of Arjuna, Krishna is there. But how about us? We don't have Krishna in front of us. How do we know what we have to do? And Srila Prabhupada, how did he know what he had to do? So, by reading Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on the shloka, he got firm determination to preach. And what is that? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, if you satisfy Guru, then you satisfy Krishna. Okay, so Krishna will be happy with you when you satisfy your Guru. So if the Guru is satisfied with your work, then Krishna is happy with you. Okay, that is the simple formula. Okay, we have to just follow the instructions of the Guru, and if the Guru is happy, it means Krishna is happy. We are pleasing Krishna. Okay, because through Guru Parampara, we reach Krishna, right? we come in that disciplic succession, right? Krishna to Brahma, Brahma to Narada, Narada to Vyasamuni, until our very own Prabhupada. So if we please our Guru, it's like it goes in disciplic succession to finally to Krishna through the Guru Parampara. So to know what we have to do, we need a Guru. Okay, otherwise we don't know what is our goal of life, purpose of life. Okay, so that is why Arjuna, when he was confused, he accepted Krishna as Guru. Okay, so like that, when we are confused in our day-to-day activities, that is why we need to accept a spiritual Guru who can guide us on our path to do this, like this. If you do, it is good for you. Okay, so that is why here, so that's why Krishna is answering. So you have one goal. He's giving the answer to that indecision. He was confused, right? So you have one goal. Don't have so many goals. You have one goal, and that one goal is to please Krishna. Okay? And even then, if you get confused whether I have to do this work, simply you just think one thing, whether it is satisfying Krishna or not. If it is favorable, you do it. If it is not favorable, don't do it. That's all. Simple. So that's what he's saying. So we should be firm, fixed in our purpose. We should have only one goal. That's it. So now let's go to the next shloka. 42 and 43 is a combined shloka. So let's see what Prabhupada says. See, 42 and 43. It says, translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. Okay, so now the answer to the fourth question. Now, Arjuna, the fourth reason why he didn't want to fight is what? Destruction of family tradition. So now Krishna is giving the answer to that. Okay, so here, if we if we don't follow karma kanda given in the Vedas, Arjuna is saying that there will be loss. Okay, so if you don't do karma kanda, nothing if you do, there will be loss, right? You are not doing any social activity, you are not doing any charity, so no pious credit, nothing. So he's saying if I don't do all this, there will be loss. But Krishna is saying, don't worry. Okay, so many things about karma kanda are discussed in the Vedas. See, many people, when they read the Vedas, they go into this karma kanda section only. But in the Vedas, that karma kandas is just a small portion. Okay, so actually, in Bhagavad Gita, you must have already finished L1, right? Light idea you must be having. The purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. It is not to perform these karma kanda, the Vedic rituals, and all that. That is not the purpose of the Vedas. The purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. Okay, but what people, they get attracted to these rituals because they know only two things: heaven or hell. Heaven or hell. And if nobody wants to go to hell, they want to go to heaven. So obviously they will do good activities. And what are the good activities that are mentioned in the Vedas? And the Vedas, they mention it so nicely. That's why they're saying here, flowery words of the Vedas. They're so attractive. They'll say many things about karma kanda are discussed in the Vedas. So they'll say in the Vedas, if you do this, you will get this. But Krishna is saying you don't bother. See, we should be above all this because we want to cross the material world and go to the spiritual world. See, this karma kanda activities are only for people who want to stay in this material world. We discussed, right? What will happen if you do karma kanda? Okay, you will go to heavenly planets. Then when your punya is over, again you will have to come back to material planet. Okay, where again distress, dukkhalayam ashashvatam. So you'll be in this continuous cycle of chain, like this, in the cycle of birth and death. Where is liberation for you? Where is mukti for you? Okay, so these Vedas are stage zero. Then step by step you have to come to a higher stage. Okay, so Krishna is telling Arjuna, you forget about the lower stage, that is Karma Kanda mentioned in the Vedas. Okay, you do bhakti, you do Nishkama Karma Yoga. So if you do bhakti, you will go back to Godhead. Okay, so then you won't need heaven or hell. That is not required. Actually, who should follow Karma Kanda? Those who are atheists and those who don't follow any dharma, who are living like animals, for them this is an attraction. At least some way or the other it is better for them. Because they're living like animals, they're atheists, they don't believe in God, they're living like animals. For them, this karma kanda is needed. Okay? For them, this is an attraction. They get attracted to the Vedas and they start doing this karma kanda. Okay? So, men of small knowledge, they think, Arey, the people like animals or atheists, they think, Arey, such nice things are mentioned in the Vedas. We can nicely enjoy sense gratification. That's what these people think. So in the Vedas, it is said, if you do karma kanda, you can go to heaven. Okay. So, okay, obviously, here on the earthly planet, we agree that the enjoyment is less compared to heavenly planet. In heaven, you can enjoy many times more. Okay, the lifespan is also more, the food or whatever, everything is of high quality there. There is a lot of variety also. You can enjoy more materially. So that is why it is mentioned in the Vedas, if you do karma kanda, you can get more material enjoyment. That is true. So men of small knowledge, they get attracted by the flowery words of the Vedas. So, and they think that sense enjoyment is the ultimate goal. They think this is written in the Vedas, so this is the ultimate goal. Sense enjoyment is the ultimate goal. Okay, so that's what we all think, right? Before we never knew that we could go back to Godhead and we could stay there without coming back here. We didn't know, so we thought only heaven or hell, and that's why we, per the Veda, we did all these karma kanda activities. Okay, but so then we think, but Krishna is saying this is not for us. So we have to go higher. So I will tell you about Buddhi Yoga. Okay, so if you are attached for material sense gratification, then you can't follow Buddhi Yoga. You can't get liberated. You will be roaming here in this cycle of birth and death. So true, right? If you are attached to Karma Kanda, you will be roaming here only. You will never get liberation. You will go to heavenly planet. When punya is over, again you will come back to the earthly kingdom. Again you will do pious activities. Again you will go to heavenly planets. Again you will come back here. Same. So you will be rotating. You will never get mukti. Okay. So many people say, right? Common people, they say we should enjoy materially and see everything, eat everything, roam everywhere, and at the same time we should do bhakti also. Okay, so many of us are like that only, right? We put our leg in both the boats. We want material enjoyment, we want bhakti also. Both we want, right? But that is not possible. See, what will happen? See, if you put one leg in the boat of bhakti and one leg in the boat of material enjoyment, sense enjoyment, and the boat is moving. One boat is moving in one direction, other boat is moving in another direction. You will fall in the water, na? Is it possible for you to travel like that? No. So many people think I will do bhakti, I will do sense enjoyment also. Both I will do. I will do both. But that is not so. Krishna is saying here, see, those who are attracted to sense enjoyment, their consciousness is taken away. See, even when they are doing bhakti also, they will be thinking about this sense enjoyment. So if you travel in that, if you do sense enjoyment and do bhakti, your mind will be always on that sense enjoyment only, even when you're doing bhakti. Because all these many crores of janmas we have been doing sense enjoyment. So our mind will be on that only. Okay, that's what Krishna is saying. Those who are attracted to sense enjoyment, their consciousness is taken away. They cannot understand the Bhakti Tattva. Okay, their buddhi is not one pointed, but it is many branched. See, while doing bhakti, they are thinking, Arey, what is happening to the share market? Whether there'll be loss in my business? Will that person will he cheat me? So they will have different tensions while doing bhakti also. So it is many branched. So they can't focus on bhakti. So they can't reach the goal. Why? Because they're attracted to so many things. So they're more tensed about material things because they put their leg in both. They want sense enjoyment, they want this bhakti also. So when doing bhakti also, they'll be remembering only those sense enjoyment things. Materially only they'll be thinking. Okay, they'll be tensed about all these material things. When they're chanting, they'll be thinking, oh, this might happen, that might happen. Oh, what will happen if I don't reach on time? So all these things you'll be thinking. So whether I gain or lose in the share market, whether he will cheat me. So that is why their mind is never stable. So you can never do both at the same time. That is what Krishna is trying to say here. So now let's go to 44. So this is also a shloka to be memorized. Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam tayapahrita chedasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadauna vidhiyate. So, translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, see, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. See, if you're attracted to all the material sense enjoyment, you want movies, you want parties, you want kitty parties, you want gold, you want saris, you are attached to all these family, money, wealth, all these things. If you're attached to that, here they're saying, if you are bewildered by such things, the devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Your mind, because it is always thinking about this, Arey, I didn't get this gold chain. Arey, I didn't get that, I didn't buy that sari. Arey, I didn't get that money from my friend. She still didn't return my money. Arey, I didn't get my promotion. So even when you're doing bhakti, you're remembering all these only because you're attached to all that. Okay? So so we are not one pointed, and now our goal is, though we are doing bhakti, we want only material things. That's why we are many branched. But a person who has only one goal, his goal is only to be a please Supreme Personality of Godhead, he will work for that only because he has that only one goal. Now when we want bhakti, we want sense gratification, we will be more attached to material things. So when doing bhakti also, we'll remember those only. Oh, whether that person will cheat me, whether because we have other goals materially. How the share market will go up or down. Array, this new movie is coming. Will I get the tickets for that? So your mind will be on that. Where is bhakti? Okay, so this one pointed focus to do bhakti is not possible if you are attached to sense gratification. No, eyes will say, let's go for a movie. Tongue will say, let's go to KFC and have some fried chicken. So all the senses will be pulling you in different directions. Then how can you focus on bhakti? So you can't. So that is why, till the time you're attached to sense enjoyment, it is difficult for you to focus on bhakti. So that is why Krishna is telling Arjuna, you don't get attracted to the flowery words of the Vedas. That is lower level. You go to higher level. So Krishna says, and we'll see next sloka 45 and 46, he says, see, Arjuna, had the tension, like who will, he had the tension, right? If he kills the head of the family, who will do the Pindadana? The children, because generally the elders teach about the samskaras and everything. If the head of the family dies, who will guide the children and the youth? Who will give them samskaras? Who will tell them about the traditions? They will not know anything. Then they will not do all these Pindadana and everything. Then the forefathers will go to hell if Pindadana is not done. So, but Krishna is saying here, see, you don't take tension for that. You do your bhakti, right? You do your bhakti and you go back to Godhead. So, those who are with you, they will also do bhakti and they will also go back to Godhead. That is what Krishna is saying. So, you don't worry about them. You do your bhakti and you go back to Godhead. And the people around you seeing you, they will also do bhakti. They will also go back to Godhead. Okay. So now let's see the 45th shloka. Okay, this is also an important shloka. You can please memorize this shloka. Traigunya Vishaya Vedo Nishtraigunya Bhavachuna Nitwandvo Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. Okay, so the Vedas mainly deal with material things. The three modes means what? They belong to the material, Prakriti, right? So they deal with three modes. The Vedas mainly deal with. Oh Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. So Krishna is telling you, come above these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. In the self means soul. Don't think on bodily. See, in this material world, we think we have this body and we are governed by these three modes of material nature. See, we are tied up by these three gunas Rajoguna, Sattva-guna, Tamoguna. Right? So Krishna is telling, since we are driven by these three modes, we are forced to come back again. We are tied up. But if we try to transcend, come up above these modes. So these modes are only present in the material world. But once we go up above the modes, we come to the Shuddha Sattva. So in the spiritual world, we don't have, we are not connected with these three modes at all. These modes are there only in the material world. So Krishna is saying, come above this bodily platform. You are the soul. Okay, you are not this body. That's what he's saying. You come above these three gunas. Okay, see here they're saying the Vedas they mainly deal with the three modes of nature. So karma kanda is associated with material nature. So you do karma kanda, why? You do material activities, right? So you come back, that's why you come back again here. Okay, so karma kanda is associated with material nature. So uh, you will be rotating in the cycle of birth and death. So you'll be rotating in this material world because of these three modes. So Krishna is telling you should come above these modes. You should transcend these modes. Okay, so these three modes are presently only in the material world. So these modes won't be in the spiritual world. So those who become pure devotees, okay, they are not affected by these three modes. So only when we transcend these three modes can we be free from tensions and attachment, O Arjuna. And then we can focus on bhakti. That's what Krishna is saying. Okay, so when we come above these three modes, then we can focus on bhakti. At least we should come to the platform of sattva guna. We generally, people in this material world are so material attached, they're in the modes of passion and ignorance. They're running here and there. They don't know what they're doing, but they're running. I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do that. They're running, but they don't know what is the goal of their life, what is the purpose, they don't know. Where they're going, what they're doing, they don't know, but still they're running. Okay. So let's go to the 46th shloka. Probably, I think for today we'll stop here. It's already 4:15. So we'll just try to finish this shloka and then 46 and then 47 will start tomorrow. Okay. 46 shloka. So this is also an important shloka. We can memorize this. Yavan artha udapane sarvatah samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanatah. Okay, so translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As all purposes, sorry, I think it's not given clearly. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served by one who knows the purpose behind them. Okay? So, some people say if we do karma kanda, are we missing out on anything? Do we get any loss? So, as many people they're worried actually. I'm not doing karma kanda, but I'll not get any bias credit. Am I missing out something? Am I at a loss or something? Okay. So Krishna is saying for that he's giving an analogy. Krishna is saying, see, if we have a big reservoir of water, then we don't have to worry about these small wells, these small ponds, we don't have to worry. Similarly, see, the all purposes of the Vedas can be served by a person who knows the purpose behind them. Okay, what is the purpose of reading the Vedas is to know Krishna. That we are forgetting. We are going for small thing like that small well we are going. That's a small well. How much can it satisfy us? But if there's a big reservoir, all we can do, we can bathe there, we can wash our clothes, we can do so many other things, drinking water, washing clothes, everything we can do. But a small well, how far can it supply? So, like that, if we know the purpose of the Veda, that rituals is just a small part of the Vedas, but the main purpose of the Veda is to know Krishna. That we are forgetting, and we are getting immersed in that small well like Veda, like rituals and karma kandas. Okay, so that's what the Krishna is telling here. Similarly, all purpose of the Vedas can be served by a person who knows the purpose behind them. So, Vedic literatures are meant to encourage people to step up gradually to self realization. So, they should, by reading the Vedas, they should know that they are the soul. They should come to that concept to understand that come to the stage of self realization. And what is the purpose of self realization? Say in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, it is said that Veda is to sarve aham eva vedyo. Okay, the purpose of studying the Vedas is to know Krishna. So, self realization means we have to understand Krishna and one's eternal relationship with Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada says one must be intelligent enough to understand the purpose of the Vedas without being attached to the rituals only. So, with these karma kanda or rituals, Vedic rituals are just a part of it. And we must not desire to go to the heavenly planets for a better quality of sense gratification. Okay, so here they're saying it is not possible for the common man to follow all the rules and regulations of the Vedic rituals. Can you do? See, Vedic rituals, there's so many Vedic rituals. Can you follow all the rituals? It is not possible, right? And it is not possible for us to study all the Vedanta and the Upanishads also. We don't have that much time now. It requires so much time, energy, knowledge, resources to execute the purpose of the Vedas. So this is hardly possible in the age of Kali. We all know, right, how difficult it is to read such big volumes. We don't have that much of time. We don't have that energy. We don't have that knowledge to understand also. Okay, so what is the best thing to do? So the best purpose of Vedic culture is how is it solved? By chanting the holy name. So that is the best of all. So all of us can do chanting of the holy name anywhere, everywhere, anytime, wherever. So Krishna is saying, if you are already on a higher platform, that is bhakti, you don't have to think about the lower platform karma kanda. So that's why don't think am I losing out on something. No, you're not losing out on anything. Okay, so you're already on a higher platform, that is the bhakti platform. So you don't have to think about karma kanda. See, if you're watering the root of the tree, your whole tree is nourished. Where is the problem? So there is no loss in performing buddhi yoga. That is what Krishna is saying. So we'll try to stop here today, and please let me know if you have any doubts.